line. Over there, over there. Send the word over there. That the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming. The drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer. Send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over, over there, over there, over there. Send the word over.
Hey everybody, this is Joshua Littrell with Veterans for Cannabis. Appreciate you joining us today. I'm extremely honored to bring in Andrew Wiseman today. He's going to talk to us a little bit about, DNA, pharmacogenetics. We're going to really talk about what it means to have true testing and analysis done so that you can understand what your body is, what's inside your body, and how it actually takes in medicine from a pharmaceutical standpoint. Andrew, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to visit with us today on this podcast. And if you don't mind, give the listeners a little information about where you're at located-wise in the country today.
All right. Well, right now I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, but my job has me traveling quite a bit. So our company is based out of Sandy Springs, Georgia, trying us out of Atlanta.
Awesome. So you're up in Tennessee today, out of Georgia originally. And Andrew, I understand that you're a veteran as well.
I am. I was active duty Air Force for 8 years. Worked on ICBMs, Minuteman 2s and 3s, 2MOX-3A was my code. So I was in for 8. Our CEO, we're a veteran-owned business, was a Army EOD Ranger for, I think, 8 years as well. So I've been fortunate to be aligned with military executives and former JMOs throughout my professional career, with the exception of one stint.
Well, Andrew, one of the good things that's great about our podcast is we really try to focus on that veteran side, the veteran aspect. Mm-hmm. We try to really focus on bringing veteran-owned businesses to the forefront and putting a really great spotlight on them so our listeners can understand the veterans who are now out of active duty and are trying to do their best and, if you will, live their best life on the civilian side.
We, as individuals, are not going to metabolize the most commonly prescribed medications or medications in general the same. You can be extremely slow metabolizer, and the analogy I give is think of it like a funnel. If you've got a funnel with a small bottom tip, and you keep pouring water in it, eventually the water is going to overflow the funnel just because you're pouring it in quicker than it's coming out of the bottom, if that makes sense. Think of that like your body, and when you have situations like that, or more importantly, when maybe drugs aren't effective, let's say you've got depression or severe depression in some way, a lot of our, military brothers and sisters have, you could be what they call an ultra-rapid metabolizer. So in that sense, if the standard deviation for severe depression is, and what they look at, pharmaceutical companies, is who is affected, what's the most number of affected patients at a particular dosage, and that's how they come up with the standard deviation for that dosage. So if you're on either end of that spectrum, what do? So either one of two things. You're building up toxicity within your body because you're not able to metabolize that medication fast enough. And that could lead to an adverse drug reaction, which is the number 4 cause of death of the U.S. Or on the other end of the spectrum, let's just focus on the two ends of the spectrum, is you're an ultra-rapid metabolizer. And that means you're taking in the medication, but it's being excreted out of your system so quickly that it can't do what it was designed to do at its maximum level. So again, if we look at like a depression SSRI drug, you could have someone that's an ultra-rapid metabolizer, and then they probably feel better than what they did before they walked in the door to meet that prescriber. But are they feeling at their optimal level? And that's where pharmacogenetics comes in. It's the right medication at the right dosage for an individual at the very beginning. And so that's what we advocate. And now as it relates to cannabis in this conversation, we have partnered with another company to create a pharmacogenetics, or PGX for short, panel specific to cannabinoids. And so depending on what condition a patient has or is being seen to be treated with, we can give them an exact formulation based off of their genetics that's going to treat that condition.
Wow, that is really exciting, especially from the standpoint of our veteran community. So when we talk about cannabis and medicine, cannabis is really not a medicine, is it, or is it?
Are you asking me that question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, so, Joseph, for me, and again, I'm just giving you personal, background. I grew up in an era where it was the devil's lettuce. I grew up in a strong Southern home. I played multiple sports through high school, my freshman year of college. I went active duty for 8 years. Luckily for me, I came out of the military kind of the same way I came into it. And again, I've got lots of friends that unfortunately have not kind of come out the other end the way, everybody thought they would. So I literally got a call from my CEO, and we'd worked together in the past at another venture for 12 years. And he said, "What do you know about cannabis?" And I said, "Nothing." Literally absolutely nothing. And he said, "Okay, I want to educate you." So here's my passion, and what I get excited about is because I think a lot of people are like me. You depending on what era you grew up in, I'm 45, but I think you either accepted and used cannabis from a recreational standpoint as junior in high school, that was your experience, or you didn't. And now that carries over into the medicinal side. So from my perspective, is it a medicine? I absolutely believe it is, and I'm a convert. Again, I because I don't have to use cannabis for any conditions right now today, with the exception of CBD, because we all have a ECS, or endocannabinoid system in our body. And, I'm a big fan of homeostasis, which is kind of getting things back to the correct levels, if that makes sense. So even from that perspective, I think that every single patient, whether veteran or not, we should all be taking some type of CBD in the morning, because we have deficiencies in our body. And I relate that to like an athlete, whether male or female. So let's say it's football, because it's football season right now. When you see a collegiate or an NFL team and it's a hot day, what do when they go get back on the sidelines? I mean, they drink water, but probably not. Most of the time they're drinking like something to build up their electrolytes.
Yeah,
that's
Gatorades, Powerades.
Right. That's getting their body back in homeostasis. We're just talking about a different thing now. So that going back to, I'm a firm believer in speaking to people, whether it's been themselves as a patient, it's their child as a patient, it's their grandparents as a patient. I've seen and heard enough stories from these people to absolutely believe in that cannabis is a medicine. Now, the challenge that we all have with regular traditional medicines is, how do I get the right medicine at the right dosage? Or more importantly, how do I know that? And so that's what we're here to do. And we are able to provide that information to a patient and or their recommender, or a combination of both.
So, Andrew, tell us a little bit about what that means. What is that process for the patient? We hear you talking about we're going to be able to tell you what's going to work with you, but what is that process? How do you tell them?
Well, you've got a couple of different ways we can do this right now. And again, we're launching this kind of globally, if you will, or U.S.-based on September 28th at our upcoming Relief MedCanna Summit in Atlanta, Georgia. But you can either do one of two ways, or three ways, I guess. Through, if you've done 23andMe and or Ancestry.com, which I have. I personally did 23andMe years ago when it first got launched. And it was really robust at that time when it first came out. And then I think the FDA, somebody came behind them and said, okay, it's a little bit too much information. You're scaring people. They're not ready and they're not educated for that type of information. For me, I loved it. So I linked mine up with my 23andMe. Now, how did I do 23andMe? Is a buccal swab inside the cheek. Like, think of like a Q-tip, and we're collecting cells from the back of the side of the mouth. And so whether you're doing it through 23andMe or Ancestry, or we give you a kit. We send you a kit through direct order or direct to consumer, or in states where medicinal cannabis is an option. We can put those in a recommender's practice. So same thing. They're going to do a swab of the inside of the cheek. We're going to get that those cells. We're going to process that information, and you're going to have access to an online report that you'll be able to access anytime, anywhere. And more importantly, you're going to be able to take that data and go into your physician or your dispensary and say, here's exactly what I need. It's like a recipe for a pie. Here's exactly what I need for a fantastic pie. Can you give me the ingredients?
Okay. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, Andrew. Let's talk about you get this report, you take it into your physician's office. Does the physician know how to read that, or is there a training that you guys are putting together for that? How does that process work?
Well, listen, I think based off of this call, we're all prior military. It's read a step, do a step, get a banana. This is not really hard information to ascertain. So, for instance, I've got mine pulled up right now. So it's got a couple different categories, and I have the 1.0 version. I can't access the 2.0 right now just because where I'm at. But for instance, the main caption is mental health and wellness.
Okay.
And so then it's broken down: anxiety, cognitive function, dependence, psychosis, psychotic effects, impulsive behavior, depression. Each one of those, I can go in and click, which I'll do. For me, it says I have an increased, just really quickly, it says you may experience increased levels of anxiety. View your report. Tells you what anxiety is, which I think, for this call, I think a lot of people know. It's going to go through my genetic profile. And again, we can really go deep in the weeds here, but just for the call's sake, and because we can't see this, I think I'll just kind of go over some of the basics.
Sure.
It's got your genotype. Your genotype, there's two that you're getting: one from your mom and one from your father. And so for me, then beside that, it has a suggested formulation. So for me personally, this is the note. It says, Andrew, you are likely to have slower extinction of fear memories, greater stress reactivity, and less habituation to threatening situations. Then it says your suggested formulation. I click on that, and this is what you would take into your, in Georgia right now, at least the way it's understood, is your pharmacy. But for people outside of the state of Georgia, you could take this, into your dispensary. So here's my personal formulation for Andrew Wiseman, and this will be different from yours. So it's going to tell the perfect CBD to THC ratio. Okay, mine's 18-1. It's going to also tell you your top two terpene profiles. Mine is linalool and B-caryophyllene or beta-caryophyllene. So, and then it breaks down and tells you what all those are. So just with that information, that's what you're going to be able to go into a dispensary and say, this is what I need.
So I want to play a little bit of the devil's advocate here, if you will. We both know that cannabis is not federally legal. So the information that we're getting, where's that coming from, Andrew? So when it tells you that you need an 18-1 ratio, where's the data coming from that is inputted into that system?
Sure. Again, we partnered with, in this case, a company called Canna Health out of California. They are, all these companies are data companies. That's what they do. They're just like us. They're experts in their field, and so the data is driven through technology that's available out there. It's just we have incorporated it for cannabinoids. And again, we also have this for your normally prescribed medications as well.
So we've got an application that's launching next month, and it's going to take in the patient's information, right? And it's mainly focused and centered around our veteran community, our brothers and sisters. However, we're going to utilize civilians in this too. And basically the information is going to be inputted, uploaded into the system that's going to have cannabinoid profile, terpene profile, and the full potency of the products, right? So
correct.
We're going to get that information. The patient's then going to tell us how it's affecting them. Could we essentially take that information, share it with you all to make it a more robust answering system, if you will?
Absolutely. I think you and I have talked offline. I know the company you're looking at partnering with. I know them very well. And so, that's a phenomenal. That is the perfect opportunity. Before I'd actually met with you in the past, I've met with some colleagues that you're working with, and I said this is the perfect mixture of technology, information to help a patient. I know what you guys are doing on your end, and I absolutely full-heartedly agree that that is the perfect option for a patient.
Well, and I want to give our listeners full disclosure on everything. The one, you're a brother of ours in the veteran community. Two, you guys are a veteran-owned organization. And three, a big part